How to be a villain.
At Tai Chi Ancient Star, Chu Xiu arrived. He said to himself, this Tai Chi Ancient Star is so vast, yet the moment I arrived, without even needing to pinpoint my location, I landed right at one of the key destinations. Could this be the advantage of having strong fortune? No, something is not right. This lake is too quiet. Chu Xiu suddenly punched the ground. The ground shook from Chu Xiu's punch. He said to himself, looks like I have no choice but to move forward. Suddenly, a monster appeared. Chu Xiu looked back. As the monster was about to bite Chu Xiu, he managed to punch it and said to himself, I do not sense any life force. Is it a dead thing? It feels like a corpse puppet being controlled by someone. The fact that it was not destroyed by a single punch means its physical body is extremely tough. Its strength is close to the third tier of Great Saint. As the corpse puppet charged at Chu Xiu, he suddenly grabbed its wrist and slammed it to the ground. Chu Xiu silently observed the corpse puppet and thought to himself. As he was surrounded by corpse puppets, Chu Xiu said to himself, crap, did I just stir up a whole nest of monkeys? Good thing I perfected the Zhe secret technique before coming to Tai Chi Ancient Star. Otherwise, I probably would not have made it out alive. As Chu Xiu ran quickly, he suddenly remembered something and said to himself, Sword Chi. His forehead suddenly lit up. He said to himself, an island? Could the innate sword embryo be on that island? What is happening? The lake surface, it is vanishing? Chu Xiu looked around. The wind blew. A cat suddenly observed Chu Xiu and said, finally found you, Nia. It jumped toward Chu Xiu. Suddenly, she transformed into a lady as she landed gracefully on the ground. She then said, do not be nervous, outsider Nia. I am the guardian of this forest. If you want to leave this place, you will need my help, Nia. Suddenly, she jumped toward Chu Xiu. He said to himself, a cat girl? I did not expect Tai Chi Ancient Star to be this wild. Chu Xiu said, ahem, where exactly is this place, and how do I get out? Miao Shaoqi said, you mean you do not know where you are? The fact that you managed to cross that lake really is a miracle, Nia. Since you are unaware, let this kitty explain it to you. Countless millennia ago, when this ancient star was born, 5 deities were born alongside it. The dragon god, the wild god, the nether god, the thunder god, and the wind god. They were born from the star's ultimate power and were revered as gods by all sentient beings. The island you are on now, as well as the lake outside, was created by the wild god. You came here for the innate sword embryo, did you not, Nia? Chu Xiu said, seems like you know quite a bit. Miao Shaoqi said, I have lived on this island for a long time. It is only natural that I know a few secrets. Come, I will lead you out of this forest. Step exactly on my footprints. Only then can you leave. Otherwise, you will be trapped here forever, Nia. Chu Xiu said, what was the wild god's purpose in creating this place? Miao Shaoqi said, this is the wild god's burial ground. Even gods reach the end of their lives. How tragic, Nia. Chu Xiu said, it is said that beneath the boundless marshes, a dragon god still slumbers. But if this ancient star has existed for millions of years, how could it still be alive? Miao Shaoqi said, you are overthinking it. The current dragon god is not the original one. After the dragon god fell, their energy, cultivation, and legacy gathered over time, eventually forming a dragon egg, nurturing new life. Chu Xiu said, so tell me, is the newly born dragon god still the same as before? Miao Shaoqi said, that is how the dragon god lineage has been passed down through the ages. Chu Xiu said, I see. As Chu Xiu and Miao Shaoqi walked through the forest, a few moments later, Miao Shaoqi said, see that mountain forest? That is what remains of the wild god's corpse after death. Chu Xiu said, is the innate sword embryo there? Miao Shaoqi said, yes. It lies at the center of the forehead. In your terms, it is at the divine altar. Chu Xiu said, you brought me here to help me obtain the innate sword embryo? Miao Shaoqi said, of course, that is my mission. But, as she licked Chu Xiu's neck, Chu Xiu suddenly grabbed her from behind. Miao Shaoqi said, obtaining the innate sword embryo will not be easy. That mountain holds 3 trials. The first trial tests your sword intent. The second trial tests your battle strength. The third trial, clear the first 2, and you will find out for yourself. Outsider, I have shared so much with you. How will you thank me, Chu Xiu said, and how would you like me to thank you? Miao Shaoqi said, this kitty has been alone in this deserted land for a long time. I am so lonely and bored. Suddenly, Chu Xiu grabbed her back. Chu Xiu said, I get it. I totally get it. As Miao Xiaoqi licked Chu Zhu's dirty finger, a few moments later she rested on the ground while Chu Zhu fixed himself. Drooling from the activity, Miao Xiaoqi said, "Outsider, may good fortune accompany you on your journey ahead." As Chu Zhu began to teleport in another location, Chu Zhu said, "I have arrived." Suddenly, two seductive ladies appeared. They both said, "Welcome, outsider." This is the first trial. As Chu Zhu walked past them, he said to himself, "Lifeless, definitely not human, probably some kind of corpse puppet." In the distance, two figures observed. One eye said, "An outsider has actually made it to Wild God Island." Sword Maiden, do you think he can pass the first trial? Sword Maiden said, "Hard to say." One eye said, "He did not even use a sword during the battle by the lake. It is unclear if he is truly a sword cultivator. I bet he will not even get past the trial His Majesty the Wild God has set up." Sword Maiden said, "He is about to begin." As Chu Zhu touched the stone, suddenly, multiple swords pointed in his direction and flew toward him. Chu Zhu unleashed his sword chi as his forehead glowed red. Suddenly, a massive sword appeared. System message. Hint. Host's heaven-slaying sword intent has successfully devoured the seeking defeat sword intent. System message. Sword intent quality has improved.
System message. Sword intent grade.
System message. Heaven-slaying sword intent has devoured flowing wind sword intent. Earth grade increase. System message. Heaven-slaying sword intent has devoured radiant sword intent. Earth grade obtained. System message. Heaven-slaying sword intent has devoured time lost sword intent. Celestial grade increase. In Chu Zhu said, "This is not a trial. It is practically a gift." One eye said, "It has been 1 hour and he still has not come out. I knew he would not pass the first trial." Sword Maiden said, "But his life force has not diminished. It seems like he managed to withstand the onslaught of the sword intent river. Unfortunately, his sword intent is not strong enough. Otherwise, his consciousness would have already exited the steel space." One eye said, "What a pity. It is so rare for an outsider to come here." Sword Maiden was suddenly shocked and said, "Look!" As the sword intent stele began to disintegrate slowly, One eye said in shock, "Impossible. The sword intent stele, shattered. That defies all logic." Sword Maiden, sweating, said, "The sword intent steel is tied to the sword intent river. As long as the river exists, the steel cannot be destroyed. But now that it is shattered, it means the outsider erased the sword intent river itself. His sword intent is incredibly powerful, possibly beyond divine grade." Chu Zhu said to himself, "The sword intent actually broke through its realm. The transformation entered the Tao realm." The two seductive ladies said, "Congratulations, outsider. You may now proceed to the second trial. Follow this path to the mountainside. There you will face your second test." As Chu Zhu looked at the stairs, he suddenly made the first step and said to himself, "Interesting. There is even heaven and earth pressure here. It is somewhat similar to the heavenly ladder of the Tai Su holy ground. Still, this level will not stop me." Chu Zhu suddenly leapt forward with incredible speed. One eye was shocked and confused as he said, "Is this guy insane? He is actually running on this path." Suddenly, lightning appeared behind Chu Zhu. He was struck, and One eye said, "See, he got struck by lightning. Ha ha ha, he is probably dead by now. Let us see how long he keeps pretending." Sword Maiden said, "Heh, take a closer look before you speak." A few moments later, as smoke covered the area, it cleared to reveal Chu Zhu still standing. Chu Zhu shouted above with a smile on his face, "Come on! Let the lightning strike harder." As Chu Zhu was struck again by lightning, One eye was shocked and said, "That outsider. He is actually using the thunder to temper his body." A few moments later, Chu Zhu faced Sword Maiden and said, "Are you the guardians of the second trial?" One eye said, "That is right. We are the guardians of the second trial. According to the rules set by His Majesty the Wild God, you must defeat both of us to proceed further." Chu Zhu said with confidence, "No problem." He said to himself, "These two, they are puppets too?" However, compared to the water ape in the lake and the two women in black and white on the plaza, these ones are clearly more advanced. Just what kind of existence is the Wild God? His mastery of puppet techniques alone would make him unrivaled across the stars. I wonder if I will have a chance to gain the Wild God's puppet technique once I reach the third trial. One eye said, "Outsider, rest assured. When we fight, our cultivation will be suppressed to match your level." He said to himself, Even if we are at the same level, there is no way you can handle both me and the Sword Maiden together." Chu Zhu said, all right. Thank you both for going easy on me." One eye said, "Wait a minute. You are at the godly skill stage? Sword Maiden said, that is impossible. One Eye said, how could someone at that level survive walking through the blood lightning? Chushu said, let us just start. I have other matters to deal with and cannot afford to waste too much time here. They silently looked at each other. As they measured Chushu's strength, 1 Great Saint, 8th layer, 1 Great Saint, 7th layer, Lesser Saint, 9th layer and a Lesser Saint, 8th layer and Lesser Saint, 1st layer and Godly Skill Stage. Sword Maiden and One Eye were shocked. Sword Maiden said, you really are in the Godly Skill Stage? Chushu said, as real as it gets. Believe me now? Suddenly Chushu appeared behind Sword Maiden and One Eye. He punched One Eye's ugly face, sending him flying, while Sword Maiden jumped away holding her sword. With a swift move, Chushu punched Sword Maiden's soft, huge chest before she could draw her sword. She flew away with incredible speed from Chushu's punch. One Eye said, with such a huge advantage, you still resort to a sneak attack? Sword Maiden, feeling violated, said, you really have no shame. Chushu said, the battle has already begun, my friends. I strike when I choose. What, do I need to give you a heads up first? Cannot take it? Sword Maiden, holding her soft, huge chest, said, outsider, you have passed the trial. You may now proceed to the 3rd test. Chushu continued to walk up the stairs and said to himself, without the pressure of heaven and earth, climbing the mountain is indeed much easier. However, as Chushu arrived at the cabin, he tried to open the door. Dark energy covered the mountain. Chushu noticed something, a floating box in the galaxy. Chushu said to himself, is this the innate sword embryo? The size is far too exaggerated. Suddenly, a voice said, hey, actually, its real size is about, 10,000 times bigger than this. Miao Shaoqi suddenly appeared and said, hello again. We have met before. I am Miao Shaoqi, the innate spirit of the sword embryo Nia. Chushu said, I am Chushushu, as in everything ends. Miao Shaoqi suddenly hugged Chushu with her whole sexy body and said, Chushu, you may begin refining me now, Nia. You are being cautious. After everything we have been through, why would I harm you? Besides, how could an adorable little kitty like me have any evil intentions, Nia? Chushu said, I am naturally suspicious of things. When something comes too easily, I cannot help but feel uneasy. But with such a great opportunity right in front of me, it is hard to resist the temptation. Miao Shaoqi said, that is just how the human heart is, Nia. So, what will you choose? Will you take the risk and refine the sword embryo, or turn back and leave? Chushu said, what do you think? As Chushu played with Miao Shaoqi's behind, at the desolate mountain on the Taichi ancient star, Peak Master Yun Xia said, these are the cultivation insights left behind by our human ancestors. They record the method to break through to the Saint King realm. Though incomplete, it is more than enough for us. Chi Mingdi said, Peak Master Yun Xia, are you still worried about the Holy Sun? The ancient star holds many opportunities, but also countless dangers. I hope Chu Xiu makes it out safely. Close your eyes and comprehend it. This place holds a great chance to achieve Saint King. Golden energy glowed from the cultivators as it intensified, and half a month later, Miao Shaoqi, confused, said, Nia? Chu Xiu said, 5 days ago, I refined up to the 79,999th layer of restrictions. For 5 whole days, no matter how I try, I cannot seem to break through the 80,000th layer. This should not be happening. Miao Shaoqi said, do you know why? Because you are doing it wrong, Nia. Thank you so much for watching. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to help me grow my channel. Your support means the world to me. Don't forget to leave a comment below. I love hearing from you. Let's keep the conversation going and get those analytics buzzing. Until next time, take care.